What's good, y'all? I've got some pretty cool buffs and changes for Kangaskhan, and yes, Mega Kangaskhan. If you are a new viewer here and you are expecting some type of competitive analysis of Kangaskhan, number one, I am sorry to disappoint you. Number two, stay a while, listen to the video. Make sure you look at the Google Sheet linked right down below in the description if this type of thing does seem like it would appeal to you. This is a ROM hack, of course. None of these buffs and changes are balanced for competitive play whatsoever. Not that this one specifically would be that unreasonable, because it kind of wouldn't, at least in the context of the hack. There's things that are immensely stronger. However, Mega Kangaskhan and Kangaskhan himself, or herself, excuse me, I don't want to misgender Kangaskhan, fucking ritual creature. But yeah, my point is they provide a lot of defensive utility with the fitting ability Intimidate, which I'll get into all that in a second. But first, I just want to have a quick disclaimer for anybody who is new here to check out that Google Sheet. Like I said, it's linked right down below, and most importantly, as you see this, well, first of all, there's a bunch of useful tabs right here on the bottom, so if you haven't looked at these, give them a look. It takes me a lot of time and effort to update all these with all the new stuff, so that's all really cool. But the most important one by far is the move buff and change sheet. I have logged literally every single move buff and change in the hack, and I have reworked pretty much every single move, so it took me a lot of time and effort to make this, and also just to balance out all these moves. And again, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not checking it out because of just how massive the volume of all the new moves are. It's not like your typical ROM hack, So yeah, just give those a look. Definitely worth your time. You can even bookmark the Google Sheet. Like I said, if this type of thing appeals to you, also subscribe to the channel. With that being said, though, I will get into the buffs and changes here. So you might, if you are a returning viewer, you might be looking at this and be like, well, why does it have Intimidate twice? Because if you are a returning viewer, you probably already know that I try to give every single Pokemon 2 sets of abilities to switch between with an infinite use ability capsules, and each ability has at least equal situational use. Like, you would use one ability over the other for certain situations. It makes every single Pokemon significantly more versatile, and the difficulty is balanced around the fact that not only are you using that infinite use ability capsule, but also all of the massive array of TMs and tutors you get, the infinite retraining items, etc., etc. But with Kangaskhan, it has the ability Intimidate, which turns into Expertise. Expertise functions exactly like Parental Bond. Keep in mind, by the way, in Gen 7, Parental Bond is quote-unquote nerfed to a 25% boost. Not that that's bad, because it's still really good. Actually, the main benefit of Parental Bond is actually, at least in this hack, is not just the 25% damage boost you get, but also the fact that you hit twice. So additional effects will trigger twice. For example, Power Up Punch, False Strike, Hold Back. Those moves will give you +2 attack, and also the latter will give you +2 accuracy as well. Skull Bash, that'll give you +2 attack, accuracy, and defense when you click it. Actually, sorry, you're still only getting +1 defense, but you're getting +2 attack and accuracy, so that's pretty cool. With Skull Bash, which is also massively buffed in a lot of different ways, always crits, and it's overall 135 base power, and it's just a really fun move to use now because of that. It's really, really sick. But yeah, you have tons of great defensive utility options like Slack Off and Battle Cry and Parting Shot in conjunction with Intimidate, which will help you deal with all of the crazy offensive, Pokemon in this hack that all have really strong moves and stuff. But my point was earlier that a 25% boost, while still very strong, especially coming off of 130 base attack, is not like the strongest thing in the world anymore. There are tons of other boosting abilities that are widespread that give a stronger boost, and not to mention, like, it only has normal stab. Honestly, Mega King is actually, like, I wouldn't say it's underwhelming. Nothing is underwhelming in this hack, but it's just not like, it's not the GOAT that it used to be in the context of this hack. It's just another regular Pokemon, which is good. That makes all Pokemon more equal. Still a GOAT. I mean, Intimidate into Expertise is great because you can switch in your Kangaskhan, get that Intimidate off, and then Mega Evolve. Of course, I do balance all Mega Evolutions to be viable, or rather, all Pokemon with Mega Evolutions to be viable over their Mega counterparts, even once you get the Mega Stone. So most Mega Stones will be available after Totem Mimikyu, like, at least intended to be used after Totem Mimikyu. But I balanced it so that the base form is actually useful over the Mega because of the fact that it has different abilities, because of the fact that it can hold an item, and all that other stuff. That's all really important, especially the held item. That's like a deal breaker, especially in a ROM hack like this where, it's pretty damn difficult. You're going to want specific held items to counter specific things, especially in a team locked in Nuzlocke. It opens up a lot of strategy with your held items. So yeah, you're definitely going to want that Kangaskhan. Not to mention, like, its stats aren't that much better, and you do have Instinct for an offensive ability on base Kangaskhan. So while you have Intimidate for that defensive utility, Mega Kangaskhan has base Kangaskhan has Instinct, which functions like Download, and that turns into Mega Kangaskhan. The logic, by the way, for Intimidate and Instinct is pretty obvious, I hope, but if it's not, I'll explain it. Intimidate, if you read the Pokedex and also just kind of look at her, she is like this, very overprotective mother. She will, like, I believe if you read the Pokedex, it just talks about nonstop how she'll, like, fight for her life, or fight for the child's life, like, with her own, and just, like, attack anybody who tries to touch the kid. So Intimidate fits very well for that regard, and then Instinct fits very well because of, you know, motherly or maternal instincts, and also just it's like the same logic as Intimidate at the end of the day. So both of these abilities are pretty generally fitting for any, like, you know, semi-intimidating or protective or aggressive Pokemon. And obviously Kangaskhan can get very aggressive when it's, you know, when it's angry or protecting the kid. So yeah, that's the logic for both those abilities. Instinct is, so like I said, a punctually download, right? So you might be thinking, isn't a special attack boost kind of useless on base Kangaskhan? And you'd be right. That's not a bad thing. If you just are smart with when you switch in your Kangaskhan, you can still get that +1 attack boost. And now with 120 base attack at +1, you know, with a boosting item, you're actually stronger than Mega Kangaskhan. So that's number one benefit. And you can also run Choice Scarf with Instinct, you know, +1 attack Instinct, switch in. You know, you also have stuff like U-turn and Parting Shot. So it's really great in that regard. Mega Kangaskhan can actually abuse its newfound base 90 special attack with the special instinct boost. So you can get a special instinct boost and then Mega Evolve and actually use some of your great special coverage moves. Of course, you get a lot of great physical coverage moves too. So I'm not trying to say that, like, special Kangaskhan is the new meta. It's just a nice little, I mean, it's no meta. Well, there is a meta in this deck, but it's anything can work. That's kind of the point. And lots of things have very situational use. So for example, if you're fighting a Pokemon with lower Spadef in front of you and a very high Fizz Def, you're going to want to run that special instinct to make a Kanga. You're going to want to switch it in, get that special move, Mega Evolve, and then, you know, T-Bolt or Ice Beam or whatever. So because you have access to infinite EV training items, infinite TMs and tutors, the fact that you're a mixed attacker is a really useful trait. And as for the logic of it, I mean, it's kind of weird, but I also didn't have anywhere else to put the stats for Mega Kangaskhan anyways, because I wanted base Kangaskhan to be strong, and there wasn't really anywhere else to put the stats. So that's the first reason. And then the second reason is just because I think it's cool to actually be able to abuse the special attack instinct boost, because otherwise they would be the only non-mixed attacking instinct Pokemon, and that would kind of bother me. So technically they are mixed, only on the Mega though. And of course base Kanga can still, you know, wreck house with that physical attack boost. And like I said, with access to the trainer documents, which if you're doing some type of hardcore Nuzlocke, I mean, I intend for you to use the trainer documents if you're doing any type of challenge run. If you're playing casually, you know, go ahead and just play through the game. But if you're playing, you know, which is kind of by design, at least for experienced players, to do a hardcore Nuzlocke, you're going to want to use those trainer documents and actually prepare for what's coming up ahead. You can't go into shit blind. You will get wrecked, and it won't be fun. It's not going to be fun. You got to, like, prepare for stuff and plan through the strategies for boss fights. That's part of the fun. That's kind of what I'm going to be designing everything around. But I'm kind of getting sidetracked. My point is, Expertise is still a great ability, obviously, Parental Bond. You get double boosts. You have priority in the form of Sucker Punch, First Impression, Fake Out, Quick Attack, Swift, all that stuff. Great coverage moves of all different kinds. Also, additional effects like flinches will trigger twice, or at least have a double, not actually a double chance, but 2 chances to flinch. It's actually about 51%. For example, Rock Slide, right? 30% flinch rate. That will have a 51% flinch rate overall. Same goes for moves like Zen Headbutt, which I believe now is a 20 or 25% flinch rate. So that would have 2 chances to flinch, not double, but just slightly. I mean, it's like some weird math shenanigans. You know, moves like Takedown and Double Edge have very high chances to drop physical defense. You know, you get, you know, 2 50% chances to poison with Gunk Shot, which is pretty huge. You know, burn chances with Fire Punch, flinches with Iron Head. You get 2 speed drops with Grass Knot and Low Kick. You get 2 attack and special attack drops with Skirmish. You also get 2 attack boosts with Raging Fury. I didn't cover that. That is essentially Fire type Power Up Punch that also doubles in power if you move to second. So that's pretty sick for Mega Kanga. And it's also just a good coverage move. Yeah, you got all types of crazy stuff like Whiplash, which, you know, they use their tail to whip you, and now that move will always drop defense. Same with Lunge. So Lunge and Whiplash will give -2 defense, which is pretty sick. Power Trip will give you +2 attack, and that second hit will be even stronger. So Power Trip plus like False Strike or Skull Bash or something with Expertise is pretty damn crazy. You can really rack up a lot of boosts super quick with Mega Kanga because of Expertise. You also get Belly Drum late game, which works great with your priority moves. So yeah, that's all late game. I mean, you're not really going to abuse Belly Drum at all for earlier than that, of course. That's just for the very end of the game. I wouldn't focus on it too much. Even Dragon Dance, I mean, people like who are competitively minded are going to lose their minds at the concept of, you know, Mega Kangaskhan with Dragon Dance, but that's not what this hack is balanced around. Setup moves in general are not really that good anymore. Not that they're bad, but in a hardcore Nuzlocke especially, they're not that good. And there's also so many ways to deal with them, not just in the fact that every single Pokemon in the game has like priority moves now, but also, you know, just the fact that there's so many bulky Pokemon and so many strong Pokemon that are like, it's not an issue. This is really just kind of and it's not an average Pokemon, but it's a, you know, it's a great Pokemon, but every Pokemon is great, so it's not anything too like stand out ish. It actually does face some competition in the form of a bulky Intimidate pure normal type with Ursaring, who has a higher base attack and Tough Claws. However, Kangaskhan is stronger and technically bulkier. Yeah, it is bulkier. Kangaskhan is, faster and bulkier, but Ursaring is significantly stronger and has Tough Claws versus Instinct, and Tough Claws is obviously a much more consistent boost, so that's pretty cool for base Kanga. I do try to keep overlap to an absolute minimum, but when it comes to pure normal types, it was pretty much hell to balance them all around one another and still make them each have 2 useful abilities and make sense for the design. Like, that's a lot of balancing stuff I had to worry about, so it's whatever. It's not the end of the world that Kangaskhan shares Intimidate with Ursaring. It also shares Expertise with Ambipom, but like, that's not a big deal. Mega Kangaskhan's much bulkier and much slower than Ambipom is, and also much stronger. Although Ambipom can hold an item, so Ambipom's actually technically stronger, but you get my point. Thank you so much for listening. I could cover a few more things, but I will trust that you can just figure it out for yourself if you look at the Google Sheet and look at the other move buffs and changes, see all the new effects for these moves, because there's a lot of nuances I'm not covering because I don't have the time. But I appreciate you listening this far into the video. Shout out to you. Let me know in the description down below. Comment section down below if you did listen this far in. I appreciate that very much. Peace.